Welcome to the Leadership We Need Now, a space where we can talk about leading with care, with compassion, with courage in today's world. I'm Stacey Dye, and I'm coming to you today with 20 plus years of experience in leading nonprofits in small rural communities, and with a message of hope and resiliency and hopefully a thought for the future. As we're looking at leadership development and as we're thinking about the ways that we need to move forward, not only with nonprofit organizations, but small businesses and in our community work, we really need to think about things in a different way. The reality of today is very different from the reality of yesterday and in years past. And so what we're going to talk about specifically today is about advocacy and the role that it plays not only in the community work that you're doing, not only in the role that you're playing in society, but in the way that we want the world to look tomorrow. And so advocacy for today is designing the world for tomorrow. And so what we need to talk about as nonprofits is being able to tell the story. Being able to speak up in a way that you're heard, being able to think about things in a way that you can not only translate the work into things that are meaningful to others, but also ways to tell the story so that we have sustainability, we have viability and resilience when things are tough. So that means that if something changes, if someone comes along with a red pen and eliminates a program or projects, decades, centuries of work, we need to be able to not only adapt and respond, but we need to be able to tell the story of why that's important and why that matters. And so as I start this, I'm going to have a logical side and I'm going to have an emotional side to talk about this issue, because when we're doing work that matters, when we're working in and around issues that mean something to us, the emotional connection to it can and will persuade your decisions. And so understanding that we're not in a time where you can easily speak out and feel heard, or that your voice is sometimes muffled by maybe this is your job and it looks as though it's self-serving, or maybe this is an issue that you've dealt with, and so it looks like it's, again, self-serving. We have to be able to have clarity in messaging. That doesn't mean we have to have a perfect message. It means that we have to understand the why. We have to understand the why for us and why we're doing it, but also the why for the opposition, of why someone would not want it to happen. And when we understand that clearly, we're able to better communicate a message that is meaningful, is purposeful, and also a message that resonates. This is not an easy task. This is not something that, if you're a helper or a doer, that you spend a lot of time focusing on. A lot of times, when you're doing this work, you are doing the work. You are showing up every day. You are handing out food. You are helping the homeless. You are doing things to help. And to step back and say, I need to dedicate time to telling this story or showing a picture or sharing information, that feels counterproductive to the work. And I think we're in a place where we understand that that is just not true. That the story is just as important sometimes as the work, because it can go away like that. And when you dedicate your life to something, when you dedicate your heart and soul to something, to watch it disappear just at the will and pleasure of others or as part of a political movement or something like that, that is so disheartening and makes you feel like you lose all hope. And so advocacy in nonprofits has traditionally been something that we've been told to not do. We've been told to stand back, to not get involved, to stay out of politics and stay out of these issues. what I would say to you is politics needs more helpers, not less. Politics needs our input and our opinion because we're doing the work. So when we're talking about politics, to disengage a whole sector because we're afraid we're not going to get funded, or we're afraid that we're going to upset someone, there's going to be retribution, we are now setting ourselves up for the moment we're in right now, where we don't know how to mobilize, we don't know how to message, we don't know how to share our story in a way that is going to make something move a needle. And so the logistical part of this is that when we're doing this, we need to be very aware of what's happening. We need to understand that we have to separate our emotions to what is reality and step back and say whether or not you are this political affiliation or that political affiliation does not matter. It only matters that the issue survives because it is something that benefits the community. When you look at your personal feelings, you also have to separate whether you like someone or you don't, or whether you're afraid of retribution or afraid that you may lose your funding or may lose jobs in your organization. We're at a place where that is already happening, and it happens so fast that you don't have a time to be defensive. You have to be on the offense. And so part of advocacy is understanding the issue, understanding what you're fighting for, understanding the opposition to that, why this would be cut, why this would be eliminated. Even if you don't have a clear understanding, because the understanding isn't verbalized, you need to understand what is happening and how the other argument will lay. So you're trying to almost be a defense attorney and understand what the other side is going to say about your case. You need to be very, very detached from that. That doesn't have any personal attachment to you. It doesn't have any connection to how good you've done your job, the people that it's serving, any of that. You have to just look at it as a fact. When you're designing your message, when you're designing your argument, you really have to be clear about answering those questions. Whether or not it's, a very heartfelt, loving story may not be the argument you want to make at this moment. It's not that it's not valuable, it's not going to resonate the way you need it to resonate. So for example, if you have a program that is doing all these really amazing things, but it needs, the funding is getting cut, you need to talk about how many jobs it brings in, how it will affect the economy, how it will directly affect systems in the state, how it will, the loss of jobs here will then just add to the unemployment cost in the state. These are not jobs that are refilled easily. Those are arguments that are a different perspective from maybe yours and what we've traditionally been taught to do in reporting or in our social media post. But those are the arguments that may win or keep a program. They may be the difference. And so as you're thinking about this, and I understand the fear, I understand the reluctance to engage because you feel like it could be worse if you do than if you don't. I am here to tell you that it is not. That we have to engage. The helpers have to engage. We have to stop standing on the sidelines and allowing people who have no idea how to do any of this work, who have no idea what the human experience has done to people. If we're not at the table, we're on the menu, and we have not been at the table for decades. So we need to start understanding that we do have a voice, we do have a message, we do have something to say, and we need to be able to clearly state it. So the logistical part is understanding what your mission is, understanding the work you're doing, being able to clearly speak to that, also understanding the opposition and why this would come under fire, why this would be determined to be cut, and then creating an argument that is specific to that, not to your argument, but to theirs. It would also be logistically adding another check mark to a thing to do. You need to start being able to share your messaging, whether that's on Facebook or Twitter or on Instagram or other social media platforms, YouTube. You have to be able to share your message. You have to be able to connect with not only your supporters, the people that agree and support you, but those that may not understand how this may affect people and affect their communities. So getting the word out, and getting the word out in a way that is, again, clear, concise, and to the argument's point, is going to be the difference in people helping to support your movement or your advocacy and you doing it almost by yourself. I think the emotional side of this is the harder piece, right? Like, we weren't put in these positions of leadership thinking that this is what we would do, is that we would have to fight for the value of humans. We would have to fight for the value of programs that help people, that we would have to stand up and, in addition to helping, guard and protect the way that we do need to do now. And that piece is very scary. But I will tell you, I have worked with hundreds of people, and if there is anyone who can do it, it is and it will be the people that are on the front lines fighting now. We're already fighting for things. We're already fighting for people and their dignity and their health and their well-being. We're already doing that. So we know how to fight. We know how to strategize. We know how to navigate. We need to now transfer that energy and that power into things that can and will change things. And so that means stepping out of comfort zone. I'm sitting here in front of a camera, not my typical strategy, trying to help the helpers. And the helpers are the ones that know how to be brave and be courageous in their leadership. And we need compassionate, caring people to determine how we want our world to look. And this is the time. This is the time to advocate for your organization, for the work that you're doing, for the people you serve, and for ourselves. The work that we do is so valuable. We have to be all of these things. And if we're not, thinking about the organization or the people or our community or our state or our country, that's what we do every day. We think about how these things affect others. And so in this moment, through fear, through worry, through just the uneasiness of standing out front and not just being in the background and doing the work and getting the hard things done, but standing out front and saying, listen, I have a voice, I understand, and I know better than any of these people do because this is what I do every day. And I've done it for years and sometimes decades. And so as we step into this, know that there are others. There are communities of people fighting too, and that don't know how to do this either. This is all new to everyone. Any tip or tool I would have given you a year ago or 10 years ago, completely irrelevant. We're in a place where we have to fight different. We have to stand up different. And it's up to us. It's going to change when we step into our power. And that's not just nonprofit directors, but those are community-minded, heart-filled, generous, thoughtful, caring people. When we step into this and we step into our power and we start to advocate for what's important, that will change things. But we have to be engaged, and we have to engage in a different way. And I know that these videos are just tips and tools that can potentially help you. as you navigate some of these challenges, but just know that you are needed, you are appreciated, and that this is something that we were built for. This is something we were made for. So subscribe, follow us, like and share, but just know that I am thinking about all of you. I am as worried, if not more worried than all of you. I don't sleep at night because of this stuff. And I will fight just like I'm asking you to fight. So we need to do this together in power and in compassion. And I'm thinking of all of you and sending you my best.